It really boils down to a couple words in the addendum that is so troubling. If any unit owners among us feel comfortable reading any kind of contract language, it is a must to look at this addendum. And there's an explanation for this, or we got a 5-alarm fire on our hands. And that's why it's important to know who drafted this. And that's why it's important to know who proofread it. One of the responses I got from some of the videos I posted was, why are you talking about something so small, whether you got a document or not? There's a lot of big dollar items here and more important things to talk about. To which I say, sometimes small things actually point to bigger things. We all want results, but there are some who don't care how you get there and as soon turn a blind eye and look the other way. And to others, the how we get there is more important than the results itself. To paraphrase an old saying, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed woman is queen. One way to keep people blind is to refuse to hand over documents that are public but yet still inaccessible. To this day, that document request was about the Catania settlement. That Catania settlement is about the Port of Cashare, with some people scared about numbers reaching $2 million. Well, the office posted the addendum to that settlement recently, but what's that addendum worth if the one-eyed queen still hasn't posted the original settlement agreement, even after bringing this light to everybody? It's actually willfully failing to comply with law. Now, I can understand some unit owners wanting to be blind. They got bigger things to worry about in their lives, and they don't care how it gets done as long as it gets done. But that doesn't help other unit owners who actually do care and believe how is everything and that things like that matter. The problem with that style of governance tends to lead to ruling rather than governing. And it tends to lead to higher risk decision making and higher odds of bad outcomes because there isn't vetted planning. And without planning, you'd just as soon be winging it. And it's too high risk and it's on other people's money. Our money. Like money for a gift shop with 48 hours notice. Wonder if it's already decided in advance. Well, I know the first item going at that gift shop, which is the portrait of the one-eyed queen herself. And in fact, for a premium, if you're so lucky you could get an autograph, hope is not a strategy. You want to play mother knows best around here, father knows best around here, benevolent dictator around here, and it seems most of the results are aesthetic driven. But what's the cost? Broken bones when you put in tiles despite being told how much of an extra hazard there is. And you're seeing unit owners now with bruised up faces and casts. And that's as a result of winging it. The problems we have are much, much bigger than being denied receiving a piece of paper. And to remind everyone, the fish rots from the head.
Fish heads, roly-poly fish heads, fish heads, eat them up, yum.
Let's get started. So in the last video, with a series of emails in around January 4th offering a better mechanism for communication between unit owners and the board by using a speak to the board address tested and proven for the last dozen years. The board decided we're happy with the way things are, which is relying on a single point of failure of a single office administrator to get it right 100% of the time and waste time for any time anyone in the community wanted to forward anything to the board. Well, I figured, you know what, I'll respect their bonehead decision. Let's roll with it. A couple weeks later, after a recent meeting that talked about the addendum to the settlement agreement, I wanted to make a request for that document. It's not online. So on January 16th, I do exactly as they asked. I address it and write it to the office@quadomainrec.com. And I carbon it to my board, not to bother other rec board members who couldn't give a fuck what someone that didn't live in their tower thought. And wrote, first off, reply to acknowledge receipt. Then I state, the addendum to the settlement agreement as discussed in the QRA meeting with the claim it'll be made available is still not accessible. So either post the addendum to, guess where, condo control, where they want all communications except you couldn't communicate with them, or explain why you choose not to. It is not listed anywhere in condo control, and if for some reason it is, provide the path as to where it can be found or a link to access such. Well, good news. 8 days later, I get a reply, and from the office at quatermainrec.com, and it's even carbon to the manager or Alex over there. Okay, well, a little late. It's been forwarded. It's not clear whether the addendum's online, but at least there's movement, and it's less than 10 business days, so hey, it's still fair game. So I guess this is a sign of maybe progress or improvement, or that the system's working. Well, not really. See, the thing is, the addendum was already posted 5 days earlier on the 19th. And the only reason why it was posted on the 19th is because on the 18th, guess what I did? I walked into the office. I got to spend a quick minute with Alex, who didn't even know that this was a request. And he said he'll be on it. He's got to make a call to, and he'll do best he can. And he sure did. He was able to turn it out in a day and take care of it. And the only reason why I have this letter from May, the office administrator, on the 24th, is because about a half hour before I walked in to follow up with her and say I never got the acknowledgement or receipt to begin with, and to let her know that in the future that I'd appreciate that if I send an email that the ball doesn't get dropped. So a few things happen in this exchange. I'm proven that it is a single point of failure and it isn't 100%, and it is the lesser of a system to a deaf board that resists any input at all, thinking they know best. And I guess that tends to happen. Those in charge, they're in their own little bubble and think they know best. Not surprising. Nothing new under the sun. And now another video at another time. I feel bad for Alex and May. The conditions for them to produce all this crazy new policy, moving at the speed of no one fucking cares, let's just get it done. And it doesn't matter the mess that's made in the wake behind, or the scapegoats sacrificed at the altar of the one-eyed queen. It reminds me of a book by Robert Anton Wilson. Her MO is, reality is what you could get away with. For the sake of all of us, I kindly ask you to wake up. Taking a look at this addendum is nothing short of troubling, to say the very least. I'm going to be quick about this because it really boils down to a couple words in the addendum that is so troubling. Basically, the settlement agreement was July 5th, specifying a 4-phase project, which we'll get into in a moment. And it's just replacing Section 7. Sure, it'd be nice to show you the original, but no one freaking has it, okay? If anyone does at this point, a half year later, and no one has their hands on the original document, this is pathetic. So if anyone has it, please send it to me at this point. Okay, moving on. If any unit owners among us feel comfortable reading any kind of contract language, it is a must to look at this addendum. I know you'd understand what's going on here. So basically, the 4-phase project is building a spec. REC is going to give Catania the rights to run with the ball, lead, find the people, get the bids, and kind of lead the project. And we're supposed to have oversight to Catania, in theory anyway. So phase 1 is building out that spec, a request for a proposal. Phase 2 is retaining a project manager. Phase 3, getting a design firm or A&E, architectural engineering firm. And phase 4, GC, general contractor. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at phase 1. Okay, it has an A but not a B, all right? I am tired of looking at shabby freaking legal work from a guy who's already, thank God he's moved on. But the heart of it is phase 2, 3, and 4. And we only have to look at phase 2 because the language is the same. And as everyone knows, what's the most important thing in contract language? The stuff that's like underlined? Let's take a look. The board's not disclosing this to you because I don't even think they really read it. And that's part of the concern. And they got covered because they could say, you know, the lawyers said we should sign it. And then it makes you question the lawyer's work. And we're looking at 2 sentences here. Tanya shall select its preferred project manager subject to the approval by the QRA, the REC board. What does subject mean? It means conditional, which means conditional upon the approval. What's that condition? And probably be a decision of some sort. So let's look at the next sentence. Quatermain REC board agrees to provide such approval. Where was the decision made? All of a sudden, such approval, like in writing to Catania within 10 business days of receipt of the selection of the project manager by Catania. Think about that for a minute. If the REC board truly had oversight, as it claims in terms of subject to approval, and has the oversight, real oversight to Catania, then the language should read, the REC board agrees to decide whether to give such approval in writing within 10 days. Now this addendum is a 3-party agreement between REC, Catania, and QCA, and each have their own law firms and at least one or more attorneys looking at this. And at the last rec meeting was asked, who drafted this, Rec or Catania? And Marlum started answering at the very end of the meeting, Rec, but kind of everyone, but couldn't give an answer. I've asked around, everyone has a different answer. And you know what? That's commonplace around here. On every little thing, no one has the same version of events of what happened. Why? Because everything's happening so fast and there's no accountability. Now, how on earth can this somehow pass 3 different law firms' eyes? And so either they come back and say, you know, my bad, and I'm getting all fluffed up for no reason at all, and there's an explanation for this, or we got a 5-alarm fire on our hands. And that's why it's important to know who drafted this. And that's why it's important to know who proofread it. And that's why it's important. Now let's bring the board members in, because they got the cover. Something just don't feel right here. There is no way. There is no way every last lawyer said, the document's good, go ahead, you sign it. And I want board members who actually have skills and they'll spend the extra time and read every word of a freaking contract and not rely on every last thing to the lawyers. Because the rec lawyer that just left at a prior meeting out loud on Zoom said and gaslit the entire community, claiming the prior board approved biometrics, including fingerprints and facial. And I stand to this day saying that is a bold-faced lie. And the one-eyed queen also to this day still continue to make the same claim, where other board members believe it happened at a different time. Again, no one could get their story straight. It is chaos. And sure, things look pretty and things are moving and everyone's happy and there's community. Yeah, that's the facade. That's on the surface. Deep down underneath, this is not sustainable, and it's like everything else. When you have unchecked power, it's kind of like the markets. We are in a boom-bust cycle, and right now you're all riding high on the bull, getting high on your own supply, and that's going to lead to trouble sooner or later. And that kind of governance has no place in a community where you live. And there's a way to balance power and end this kind of cycle and end this kind of nonsense and get the change and steer the ship around here for real. Because if a board is not capable of effective oversight, it falls upon us with our votes. We are the final arbiter of oversight. So the 3 board members who signed this addendum are Jan, Raz, and Renee, and they need to answer whether their attorneys advised them to sign this or not, which attorneys led in the drafting of it or proofreading or editing of it, but I have low confidence we'd get any answers. Or if they come back and say, you know, it's nothing, it's a minor oversight, we could do a small quick modification and everything will be fine, and in reality we're all good enough here, nothing could go wrong. I mean, this is a big deal. Is the rec board truly have oversight of this or not? Is it really subject to their approval or not? It didn't look like it last week. They were all losing their mind to postpone the meeting, because you know what happens after 10 days if they don't vote on such approval? You're paying $500 a day. And people were more motivated by the sense of urgency or rush. All of this is insane. And if no one, I'm the only person in the room who could see that, then I gotta question the very community I live in. Do you really think I even want to make these videos? I tried to do this quietly, privately, over several months, face to face, giving hints. You saw some of the emails in previous video, again, trying to do it behind the scenes. Some of you might have seen me at 2, maybe 3 at most board meetings, voicing up. And that's the thing too. This board is allergic to dissent of any kind. They make fun of those who dissent behind their backs, or even in some cases right to their face, including other board members. And that's pathetic, because you get a little comfortable when you're all in control. And lastly, I want the board to answer why they believe it's okay, as now seemingly a regular thing, to have armed security at a board meeting. Please, someone explain the rationale to that, or why you might think that is okay. It's pathetic.